Okay. For those watching the archive, welcome to the live stream. And currently have 0 viewers because it's 4:30 p.m. People probably driving home from work, but we'll see what happens. Jason Bourgeois says he'll be here. Hello, Jason. I knew I could always count on you to join a live stream. How's it going? I think it's just us right now, but that's fine. How are you doing? How's your week been so far? Yeah. Yeah, actually, we tried some different methods this time around. I won't spoil anything, but it's pretty fun. I mean, it's nothing too crazy, but yeah, it's nice to have something to like enjoy on Wednesday, like halfway through the week. Hello, Chris. How's it going? It was good. My whole body was like aching and kind of sore afterwards, but well, actually, it was already kind of sore from this kung fu class I was in, where we were practicing like falling down and getting back up. But yeah, we hiked in one day. We hiked like 8.5 miles, but it was actually like probably more like 10 or some 9 or 10, I think, just because of all the back and forth with the filming. But it was a lot of uphill too, so it was a good workout. My legs are pretty sore. But the trip was really cool. There were like really cool parts of the trail, so I think it should make a cool episode. Yeah, falling down. There's like a certain technique we were learning where like you want to make sure you don't fall directly on your spine, and the main thing is in our class they were saying like you want to like sort of hunch over and keep your chin kind of pulled down so you can like as you're falling keep your eyes on your opponent. And that was kind of like a neck and ab workout. And I think I instinctually like hunched my shoulders this way, even though you're not supposed to, and like kind of made my muscles here sore. But Jason said, you guys are going to be busy the next few weekends. Lots of us to look forward to. Yeah, it's funny. We literally just got back like yesterday around 5:30ish. And then this Friday, we're already heading out for another trip. So I got to make sure all my camping stuff is like washed and tidied up or whatever. Chris says, very excited to see it. Also, a new road trip, too much excitement. Yeah, the road trip we were actually like debating whether or not we wanted to go through with it, just because it's like a lot of stuff to do. But we're probably gonna actually do it. The cat was scratching the wall. But yeah, with the road trip, it's like a lot of time out of just everyday routine and like daily life and stuff. But hopefully we can do that and make a really cool episode, because apparently we've gotten a lot of like tips and offers and stuff like that. So hello, Mary Fisher. Hello, welcome. Wow, how many people does Robby get during his live streams? Because I feel like he usually does it around this time. I guess like a lot of people are just driving home from work and stuff, which is fine. We've got some popcorn here, which we took on our recent trip too. 13 at the most. Okay. We've got people trickling. Yeah, that's true. There's people in Europe. So how's everybody's week going? Does anyone have any weekend plans? So yeah, I guess I talked about our weekend plans going to Red River Gorge. That'll most likely be sort of a split up episode, at least a split up in teams of 2. And that's largely just of like scheduling issues. And then the weekend after that, we've got another trip planned to a place in Virginia. And like I mentioned before, we have a returning special guest. Which, I mean, I think we've only had 2 special guests, so it's probably pretty easy to guess who it is, but yeah, I think it should be good. And it actually, it's kind of interesting because this next filming trip, we're gonna have all 4 people, and the next one after that, we're gonna have 5 people. But the one me and Robby just did was literally just us 2, which is the first time we've done that for a full episode since the very first episode in Dolly Sods. And actually, that time it was only us 2 because like filming that was kind of a last minute decision where we were just like, we have to go out and like we just have to force ourselves to do this because all summer we had been putting it off, and then Labor Day weekend rolled around, and I was just like, Robby, let's go film this. Let's like make something happen. And I think Bryan was not able to get like work off or something like that. Jason says, I plan to try and get ahead with some spring cleaning. Yeah, that's something I definitely need to do. That is a good plan. It's kind of funny, like you realize you're becoming more and more of an adult when you look forward to just like cleaning and reading and like staying in and doing that. Chris Robinson says, I'm on holiday. I've been away hiking in the Lake District today with my brother and mother. Also done some biking. Awesome. How was that? How's the weather over there, Chris? Jason says, that'll be interesting to see an episode with you and Robby. It'll be nostalgic. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and speaking of weather, the trip we took was like the weather so far is shaping up to be pretty good this year because it was like pretty much sunny the entire trip. It did get kind of cold at night, and I didn't bring any foam mat or any sort of like air mat like I usually do on winter trips. So the first night I was like really cold, and then I had to get up and force myself to put on warmer clothes, which was tough because I had to take off other clothes to put warmer clothes on. But once I did that, it was okay. But it's definitely like one of those typical winter camping nights where you're waking up every so often and like trying to fall back asleep. It's funny. I feel like every time I sleep in the winter, I wake up from the cold, and then I think to myself, oh, it's going to be hard to fall back asleep. And then before I know it, I'm already asleep. Let's see. Mary Fisher says, I'm going to hang out indoors and watch the weather. Oh, potentially lots more snow for you. Okay. And I have a cake order to fulfill too. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if I realized that you made cakes. That's really cool though. Do you ever do any sort of like fancy decorative cakes or anything like that? And then Jason says, yeah, I know, sad, isn't it? I'm excited to clean. Yeah. I mean, I still have my days where I want to like go out and, do some fun stuff, but yeah, it is like actually satisfying to clean. I was talking to a friend one time, and they were saying it's just like very rewarding because it's some simple actions and it leads to a very like rewarding result. But I don't know. I feel like there have been multiple times where either me or Bryan has cleaned pretty thoroughly, but then either me or the other one, whoever wasn't cleaning, will like mess it up. Chris Robinson said, had 3 amazing days and top temperature of 20 degrees Celsius in the UK. Oh, wow. This time last year, we had snow blizzards and freezing temperatures. Wow, 20 Celsius, that's pretty high, isn't it? That's like 60s or something. Yeah, 68 Fahrenheit, wow. Hottest February temperature on record here, wow. That's interesting, especially because we had the polar vortex, so I bet the dynamics are probably related somehow. Mary Fisher says, I'm new, but now you know. Lots of fancy cakes. Do you ever have to like sculpt things with like the Rice Krispies? I feel like I see that a lot on like Food Network. Jason says, we just had the coldest February on record in British Columbia. Funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Hello, Amy B. Welcome. How's it going? How's your week been? And do you have any weekend plans? Mary Fisher says, I try to avoid Rice Krispies if I can. I have to sculpt a cake into a giant cupcake this time. Yeah, I've always had the feeling that using Rice Krispies was like kind of cheating. But I guess like with certain things, it's just unavoidable. But That's cool though, giant cupcake. Do you use fondant a lot? Is that like a common thing, or is that just more in like stuff I see on Instagram? Chris Robinson says, "Amazing the extreme weather happening all over the world now more often." Yeah, it's kind of striking for sure. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny because I thought we would at least have milder winters, but I guess that's not the case. But honestly, I'm okay with like snowy winters. The thing I really fear is just like really hot and muggy summers, especially when I have to think about like ticks and spiders and things like that. Amy B says, "Last weekend was my birthday, so this weekend will be low key to make up for the 4 days of fun." Ah, yeah. Yeah, we were talking earlier about how it's as you become more and more of an adult, you start appreciating some of the quieter weekends where you just get to like clean and read and stuff. Mary Fisher says, "Most people who order cakes don't want fondant." Okay, I see. I don't mind working with it, but I also don't like the taste. Avoid if possible. Cool, cool. Yeah, I had the feeling that those were more things that like were kind of like quick, easy fixes to make certain sculpted cakes. But I had a green tea flavored cake recently. It was for my dad's birthday. Oh, also, yeah, happy birthday, Amy B. I don't know why I didn't say that. It's kind of funny that it's your birthday and we're also talking about cakes. I could see myself like if I had access to fondant, I could see myself waking up in the middle of the night and like tearing off pieces of it to eat. um, like I feel like that would be like a college student late night desperation food or something. Mary Fisher says, "Love tea flavored cakes." Yeah, I had like a taro root flavored cake one time and it was really good. And it was like kind of one of those denser cakes, like the same texture as banana bread. That was super good. One of my friends says they make a really good I think pumpkin cheesecake, which sounds amazing, but I've never had it. The way I cook, I feel like I could never be a baker because I'm very much. I feel like people who cook are either more of an artist versus more of a scientist, and I'm very much more on the artist side of things, where I don't really like precisely measure things. I just throw stuff in a wok and then hope it works out. And then eventually, as you cook the same dish more and more, you get more of a feeling for that. But Jason says, "I hope at some point this year you'll be able to start using fire using the sun." It's funny you say that. Yeah. Mary Fisher says, "Yeah, not gonna lie, your cooking makes me nervous sometimes as a baker." Yeah, it's also like really hard to do it properly when you're out camping. Although I will say, on this last trip, we cooked some really perfectly. We cooked a certain food and it turned out perfectly. I guess I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, it's not really a spoiler because it's like not a show with a story, but I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to see things for the first time, even if it isn't like Game of Thrones or something. But yeah, really, the key with like cooking while you're camping, if you're using a campfire, is to wait until the fire, like the flames themselves, die down, and just use the embers, like sort of the slow, consistent heat of the embers. I don't know, Jason. You'll have to wait to watch. But yeah. Mary Fisher says, "Cooking is definitely an art, and camping makes it even more challenging for sure." Yeah, I feel like when I cook while camping, it's like a Jackson Pollock, uh, the equivalent of Jackson Pollock making art. Just like a bunch of splatters everywhere. Amy B says, "Is last weekend's location a secret too?" I mean, it is. It doesn't really have to be. I don't. Is it a secret? I might have actually already said it, but I'll just say it. I mean, if you don't want to know, then just like close your ears for 5 seconds. But we went to Shawnee State Forest in Ohio, which, yeah, originally we were thinking of just doing it as sort of like not an official episode, but we were just like, this is actually turning out to be really cool, and it's worth it to actually put in the effort to like write original music for it and to film it like an actual official episode. So that's what we ended up doing. Yeah, I do need to cook something during the stream again. I should make well, I've made steamed buns before, I guess, but I could make a different kind that I've been making recently. I've been I've been making something called huadren recently, which is like a type of steamed bun that has a bunch of like ridges, or like, how would I describe it? It's got like pieces that you can pull off. It's kind of like those Twizzlers where you pull the pieces off, except it's bread, and it's got like green onion inside of it. Mary Fisher says, next live stream with Andrew, live cooking show. I mean, I'm down. I'll do it. I just need to actually clean the kitchen. Amy B says, that sounds yummy. He's done live cooking before. It's always a good time. Yeah, I've done it a couple times before. I think I made 3 cups chicken one time. And I forget what else. Yeah, I guess it was just steamed. No, that was when I did steamed buns. Oh, I did hot pot one time. That was pretty simple. Jason Bourgeois says, I'm looking to add new types of leafy greens to my cooking. Any suggestions? Have been using Gai Lan and love it. Gai Lan. Oh, Chinese broccoli. Yeah. I need to get some of that myself. Jason, there's something called, oh, my cat just fell off a table into the recycling. There's a vegetable called tong ho, Tong space Ho. It's like some sort of chrysanthemum leaf, and it's got like a really interesting herbal flavor. But we eat it a lot during hot pot. Actually, if you look in the Seneca episode, we brought some of that during our hot pot stuff. Ellie, Jason says hi. Hello, Aaron. Welcome. But yeah, tong ho is one that's really delicious. If you're using Gai Lan, then you probably already know about like Napa cabbage and stuff, but that's also another good solid vegetable. I'm trying to think what else. Well, actually, green beans, I've been cooking those recently, Sichuan style. And what I do for that is I basically boil them until they're like decently soft. Not like super mushy or brown, but just soft enough where you can like break it apart pretty easily with a metal spoon or something. And then once that's done, you drain it and take the green beans out, and then heat up the wok with like hot oil. When the oil's hot, you throw in some garlic and ginger, throw in the green beans, toss it around, and add some chili garlic sauce. And you can add like soy sauce or hoisin sauce, and some sugar. But it's really good. That's like my favorite way to eat green beans. I could do that next time, I guess. And then I still want to figure out how to cook eggplant the way you get it served at like Chinese restaurants. I think it's kind of a similar process where you like fry it and braise it or something, but I haven't been too successful with that. Aaron says, it's been fun battling the flu again. That sucks. Has it been cold where you are, Aaron? I don't know if I don't think I got sick this winter, which is, knock on wood. But definitely felt that pain. It's not fun. I think the worst part about being sick actually is just how it interrupts your routine. Like obviously it feels really bad, and like physically it just feels bad, but at least if all I had to do was like lie in bed and I didn't have to worry about anything else, that'd be fine. But I feel like it just interrupts your routine, and you're not able to like do all the things you are trying to do. Amy B says, eggplant is so good. I used to grow it. How do you cook it, Amy B? Also, I guess I could just call you Amy, but Amy B, I feel like just rolls off the tongue. Jason says, I've done eggplant and fried it and then braised it in black bean sauce. That sounds really good. That's probably similar to how they prepare it at Chinese places. Aaron says, yes, I live in Springfield. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, Aaron, I would suggest, anyone who's ever sick, I always suggest to them drinking ginger tea. And actually, we can talk a little bit about medicine, like plant medicine. So there are tinctures, decoctions, and infusions. And infusions are when you take like a herbal plant and you sort of like steep it in warm water. Decoctions are when you take a plant, usually that's like a little hardier, like woodier or rooty, and you actually boil that actively in water. And then a tincture is when you take an extract or a bit of a plant and you combine it with like strong alcohol. But anyway, the reason I say that is I would suggest making ginger tea, which is a decoction. So like take some fresh ginger root, cut it into slices, put it in a pot and boil it. And boil it like really thoroughly until the water is pretty brown. And I usually suggest that specifically for sore throats because like the spiciness of it really helps. But it would probably at least make you feel temporarily better if you had a fever. Stephen Leonard says, or Leonard, I guess, says, I just ate, yet you're making me hungry. Love beans done that way. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely my favorite way to eat green beans. And then like next to that would be like green bean casserole or something. I don't like green beans when they're like cooked kind of plainly and like still a little crunchy. That is not my favorite. Jason says, I see Scott Neverdusky's calendar behind you, still in January. Yeah. That is something interesting. 1 second, let me grab this thing. So in part because I am so bad at using the actual calendar to like keep up with things, I decided to finally buckle down and get a planner. And all the planners they sell are either like the kinds that already have the calendar dates in them. And since I was buying it at the end of February, if I bought one, I would be like wasting 2 months. So it's either that or just a blank notebook. I really wanted a planner that just had like sections for each day of the week, but they left the dates blank so you could fill it in yourself. But eventually I just got a notebook and then like filled it in myself. But that's how I format it. It's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a half square for Saturday and Sunday. And it's been really helpful, helping me like keep track of all the stuff I have to do and different places I'm trying to be and stuff like that. Because I feel like I kept running into problems where like I wanted to attend a meeting or like I had a Wing Chun class or I told someone that I would like meet up with them or I was doing some video related project. And I feel like I just kept like forgetting I had one thing and then making plans with someone else and then realizing I had to cancel one of them. But anyway, planners, I highly suggest it. I think the reason I'm bad at using calendars is because like it's in a set place. Like calendars are really useful and I should use that more. But just it's a lot easier for me if I have something that I can carry around and always have on me. Anyway, people are talking about plants. Ginger tea with lemon and honey and turmeric. Yeah, that is a good go-to. One time I had something like that, but with garlic, and it tasted kind of like chicken broth without any chicken in it. Jason says, I have ginger, lemon, and honey tea all through the fall and winter and usually manage to not get cold and flu. Ah, that's a good idea, like drinking that preventatively. Amy B says, I usually put it in spaghetti sauce. Helps take down the acid level without having to add sugar to the tomatoes. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a really good idea. Then, of course, eggplant parm. Yep. I've never used it in a stir fry. I'll have to try that. Yeah, Amy, my problem with like stir fries is if I don't use the right technique, the skin usually ends up still tasting too like hard and rubbery. But I imagine when you put it in spaghetti sauce, it gets really like mushy and nice. Yeah, eggplant and lasagna sounds good too. Amy B, you like raw green beans. That is interesting. Actually, I could see that. I think like the reason I don't like cooked green beans that are still crunchy is because I'm like expecting them to be more tender. Oh yeah, Van Gogh. I had fried green beans one time. And it's funny because I think when I had them, I was just thinking like right before, it's weird that nobody deep fries green beans because they're already shaped like a fry. But it was pretty good. Oh wait, no, that was on the road trip. Was that in the episode? It was in the California road trip. We stopped by like a burger joint and I got fried green beans. Totally forgot about that. Yeah, this painting, apparently Nicole has like actually been to that cafe at one point. Stevens is appropriate to have a cafe in the background. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know, my calendar. No, it is. It's on It's on January. Here, I'll fix it right now. You can all witness this moment. And then I'll have to flip it again in like 2 days. But Malibu Beach, California. Yeah, I know. I might as well go to March. Thank you for the applause. Well, let's see. Aaron Jones says, can't wait till the end of March, heading to Zaleski State Forest with a few friends. Looking to get out after being cooped up. That's awesome. Actually, I wanted to ask, has anyone been to like any of the places in Ohio that you can go backpacking in the summer? Because the only place in Ohio we've been to in the summer was Wildcat. And while Robby and I were hiking at Shawnee, like there were parts of the forest where I was like, this would probably be really rough in the summertime. And I've talked to like Bryce Newbold and stuff, and I think he was saying it was pretty rough. But like, I feel like in the wintertime or like early spring / late fall, I feel like those are the best times to visit the places in Ohio. Just because then you don't have all of the like tall weeds and the hot and humid weather, and the forest like nice and open and clear. But yeah. Jason, thanks Andrew for changing that. My OCD was bugging me. Amy B, have you gone on any of the hikes with that group you joined? Oh, gotcha. Never been to Ohio. I feel like you are not missing too much, but I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a lot about Ohio that I really love, and like, I think a lot of times Ohioans are too hard on themselves. But also, it wouldn't be my like first travel destination. I did Blue Springs with them. But yeah, Aaron, I feel like the end of March would be a great time to visit Zaleski. Because that's still like early enough in the spring where you're not getting like super weedy forests or like super hot weather, but you still have some of the green coming out and some of the edible plants coming up. That's like my favorite time of year, I guess. I've got these bumps on my toes that are almost blisters, but thankfully they haven't formed into blisters. It's from hiking so much. Jason says, I want to see Ohio now that I have been through so much of it in AA. Yeah, Ohio is, I don't know. It's, I guess it would be cool, like experiencing something you've seen through YouTube. I just feel like it's really easy to like go to any of our neighboring states except Indiana and find something cooler. Indiana and Ohio are about the same. But I feel like Kentucky, West Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania all have like really cool things. But I don't know. Ohio's better than Florida. Yeah, for sure in the summer. But Florida does have like cool swamps and stuff. But yeah, that's definitely not something I would want to do in the summertime. Aaron Jones says East Fork State Park has a 30-mile backpacking loop. Oh, yeah, I have heard of that. Did I pass by that? I've definitely heard of that. Actually, the reason we didn't do Shawnee State Forest until now is partly because like the campsites are far apart, where if all 4 of us were filming, it might be a little tough hiking that much, especially with the up and down. Hello, Jay Wagenrich. I think I'm saying that right. This is my first live stream, but I just wanted to say that Andrew is the first person I've met, quote unquote, in my entire life. But the first thing I think of is ignitable fungus. That is a great honor. I am incredibly honored that you think of that when you think of me. So thank you. I feel like, oh wait, no, we did use a tinder fungus one time in New River Gorge. Although when we did that, me and Nicole were doing that, and right when we got it lit, the camera died and Robby had to switch to his phone, which was really upsetting. Amy B says, I'm off to make dinner and walk the dog. Have a good evening, everyone. Goodbye, Amy. Thank you for joining us. So I guess I can talk about stuff that's been going on in my private life recently. Nothing too juicy. Just I've been taking a kung fu class. And the style is Wing Chun, which is, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Ip Man it's on Netflix in the U.S. Actually, all three Ip Man movies are. Aaron Jones, whatever you just wrote to me looks like I Square, Ohio. Jay Wagenrich says, I am in upstate New York. Any Adirondack plans? So, yes. Yes, in the Adventure Archive sense, which is to say that we don't actually have any plans, but that is definitely a destination we want to go to. Actually, we were originally going to go there in the winter instead of Nordhaus, but we were a little too worried about like how rough the conditions might be in the mountainous region. So that might be something we actually do in the summertime, since it's like higher altitude and it might be cooler. But that's definitely something we've been wanting to do for a long time. So yeah, I can say yes. We're hoping to go there at some point. Yeah, I figured it was supposed to be I Love Ohio, but but yeah. Anyway, I've been taking Wing Chun classes, which are the style of kung fu that Bruce Lee's master taught. And so apparently, like Bruce Lee apparently never completed his Wing Chun training, which is why he went on to create something called Jeet Kune Do, which was like the idea of blending different martial arts styles and like taking what was most efficient and effective from each one. But yeah, it's been really fun. And apparently, like the legend is that like I think there was a woman that like somebody wanted to marry, and she didn't want to marry him, and so this Buddhist nun basically was like, if I can teach this woman to fight you and beat you in a fight, then you have to drop the marriage. And he agreed. And the criteria was that she would teach it to her in a year. So like they trained for a year, and she ended up beating the guy, and they didn't have to get married. And I'm really telling that story poorly. I feel like my master was telling it in a much more captivating way. But the moral of that is that, like, one, it's the style sort of emphasizes like fluidity and using other people's momentum instead of brute force. And two, that it's like something that anybody can pick up. Jason, what prompted me to start studying martial arts was basically just like, for years, I've always been saying it would be really cool to learn Kung Fu. And like every time I would watch a Kung Fu movie, I was like, oh, I really want to learn that. But I would never follow through with it. So it's kind of like part of my New Year's resolution / theme, where I just want to actually like follow through with things that I've always said I wanted to do. Aaron Jones, the type of GPS we use is called the Spot GPS Go Finder. Yeah, it's like the Spot Finder GPS Go. I think it's the Go Finder, but we have an older model. There's newer ones. It's basically like a little orange device, and it sends out a signal to let people know you're okay and like tell them your location and stuff. Jay Wagenrich says martial arts and backpacking are compatible sports. Independent, occasionally violent, usually lovely and exhausting. Yeah, very true. Are you a black belt in karate or taekwondo or? Apparently, Taekwondo. You just answered someone else. Scott Neverdusky says, got away from the IRS to get here. I'm glad you made it. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, apparently Ray Mears, the bushcraft guy in the UK, apparently he studies judo. But yeah, there's definitely like similarities. And yeah, it's been nice because the instructor that I'm learning under is super cool, and I just leave every class feeling like really revitalized, and it's just a good feeling. My other goal is to take another survival class. Well, my goal is to, like, in March, at least look one up and sign up for one. I did that a couple years ago, but obviously I have a lot more to learn, so that is one of my big goals this year. If I at least do that and continue with Kung Fu training, I think I'll feel pretty good about my New Year's resolutions. So Taekwondo, by the way, I've heard that apparently that was historically like a method used to fight people on horseback, like originally when it was first created. And that's why there's a lot of like those high kicks and like flying kicks and stuff, which is really cool. And apparently like karate is Well, like it literally means like empty hand, and it was used to fight samurai. And so like you have these like high blocks to block like a swinging sword. Obviously not the blade, but like the arm. And then you have these punches that emphasize breaking boards. Apparently that's where that whole trend came from. Because it was like meant to break through the weak links in the armor. Aaron Jones says, I use a Garmin 64 4ST. Do you use Aaron, do you use your GPS to actually navigate, or is it more just like an emergency thing? Because I know they make GPSs that are also like navigational, but we typically just use ours. Okay, so use it for both. Yeah, it's funny because with phones, I feel like, I mean, you don't obviously have a signal that often, but we almost always do have a GPS signal when we're using our phones. So we've been using that as like navigational stuff a lot of times. It's really funny because I love the idea of like paper and cloth maps. But one, a lot of the maps you get for places are just too low quality unless you like actually buy one ahead of time. And it's funny how we live in a time where like a phone map is the most practical thing to use in a lot of ways. Obviously there's downsides to it, but Jason says, with only 1 day left in February, yeah. Also, I don't want you to. I still do very much appreciate the calendar, Scott. I'm just trying to get more on top of things, and clearly that is a slow process. Scott says, "Did you guys get any flooding up in Ohio like we did?" You know, actually, that is so funny because when Robby and I were driving back, we were driving through a town called, what was it called? I can't remember the name of it, but we just saw like a ton of stuff flooded. Like it almost looked like a reservoir dam had broken or something, because we just saw like what looks like a vast lake with like submerged trees and stuff. And when we looked on Google Maps, all that was there before was like farmland and stuff. It was really bizarre. We even saw like an old highway exit ramp, like just going off into the water, and it was like submerged. It was really cool, actually. It was kind of like post-apocalyptic. But yeah, I don't know. That must have been something similar. I don't know what caused it though. Like, has it been raining a lot recently, or is it like just rapid snow melt because of all the changing weather? Chris Robinson says, how often do you study plant trees species now? Not as often as I should be. Actually, that is another one of my goals for this year, is to like get way more on top of that again. Because I just feel like sometimes I can stagnate too much. Also, earlier Jason said, sounds like the class is beneficial for both mind and body, and yeah, that's definitely true. It's like I feel like a lot of people, myself included, always want to go into these classes with the mindset of like, I want to be able to defend myself and like be able to win in a fight. But it's also like so much more than that. Like a lot of it really is just like the practice of getting your mind active and like your body active and stuff. Oh, don't step on the keyboard. Okay. Here's the cat, everybody. This is just cat time. Anyway. Jay Wagon Rich says, do you need to have a cell phone to use the GPS device? No, the GPS device I have doesn't require a cell phone. It's got its own way to communicate with the satellite. But actually, so like the plan I have, you have to pay like a subscription. But the plan I have just lets you send like a couple simple messages. But apparently there's a more expensive one where you can connect it to a cell phone so that you can actually like type out specific messages and then send them through the GPS. Aaron says, how often do you guys go geocaching while backpacking? Not super often actually, but we used to geocache a decent amount when we first found out about it, just because it's like such a cool idea. But yeah, I think mostly we don't, just because, well, one, we just kind of forget to, but two, we're usually like too busy filming and also trying to like get to our campsite that we just wouldn't really have the time to. Although it would be interesting to do an episode where we specifically look for geocaches also. Keep Thomas in check. Wait, keep Thomas in check about plants or? Oh, the kung fu. That's what you're talking about. Yes, my shirt is related to the martial arts. So obviously there's a fist, and then this is a plum flower, and there's like a certain type of step that you can do in Wing Chun that helps you like get around and behind somebody called the plum flower step. But yeah, that would be a fun episode. Maybe do it as a side video. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I remember when we first found out about geocaches, it was so cool. And oh, hold on, look at this cat. But yeah, when we first found out about geocaches, it was just such a cool idea. And actually, the way we found out was because Robby used to have those Vibram 5 fingers, like the toe shoes. And actually, he wore them when we went to the Grand Tetons 10 years ago, which I can't believe that's 10 years ago now. But yeah, in one of the videos for the shoe, they talk about geocaching. And so I remember like me and Thomas went around town looking for some, and there was like one hidden in this little like pipe gutter thing in a local building. There was like one hidden in a tree near one of the libraries, and there was one at the big nature park that we usually go to. It's really cool. Stephen Leonard says, your attention to plant life is one of my favorite things in the videos. I'm always looking at that when I hike. My knowledge of the fungi is sadly lacking. Yeah, I mean, don't be too hard on yourself about the fungus. I feel like, I don't know, there's just like millions of species, and a lot of them are hard to distinguish. I would say if you're trying to learn mushrooms, I mean, really with trying to learn anything, but especially with mushrooms, I think the key is to start learning the things that stick out to you the most, and learn some of the like key edible mushrooms, and that'll help you like get going on that. But yeah, again, I haven't been on top of that stuff recently. I got my dad into identifying mushrooms, and then he surpassed me, so I need to get back on that. But I always appreciate when people say that they enjoy like the plant ID stuff, because it's very validating. Because I feel like there are times where we worry that there's like too much of it. Chris Robinson says that painted rock at Manistee must have been a geocache. I think that's something similar but slightly different. I've heard that there's like, I mean, maybe it is also considered a geocache, but I've heard there's like rocks that people will place in certain coordinates, and then like people will find them and exchange them. I guess that basically is a geocache, but just with rocks. But yeah, it's funny. We saw like 2 of those there. Jason Bourgeois says, those pictures from Nordhaus were great. I hope to do some paintings from them. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I would love to see your paintings. Aaron Jones says, buy any new gear lately? Besides the tent that Bryan got. Oh, you know, Bryan did, I think, recently get a new raincoat, because he's been having trouble with his like outer shell getting too much moisture inside in rainy weather. But personally, I haven't. I do need to like pull out my old air mat and try and fix the leak that's in it. But although Robby's tent did have a slight mishap, one of his tents, so he'll have to get some replacement poles. But Mary Fisher says, I'm hoping for some morels this year. We hardly got any in Minnesota last year because of a late freeze. Yeah, same here. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think I looked for them last year too, and I didn't see any in the usual spots. I mean, they are pretty elusive, but I thought I would have at least found 1 or 2. Chris Robinson says, hopefully you find some giant puffballs somewhere this year. Yeah, those are always super fun to find. I'm still really glad that we found them on our Manistee trip, even though they weren't like the biggest. But Jason says, I will post them on my Instagram when I do some. This cat is really nice because, well, one, it just loves being pet, and sometimes it'll just like walk in front of you and then flop over and kind of look at you until you give it belly rubs. But it's a very calm cat, and it doesn't like knock anything over. Tentpoletechnologies.com. Oh wait, really? Oh. Oh, awesome. Wow, thank you so much. That's actually incredibly helpful. Um, Hopefully Robby didn't put in an order yet. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like we've had a lot of problems like that recently, but to be fair, the tent we were using is one that Robby's had for like at least 11 years, probably. No, 12 years at least. Um, I'm just sending that link to Robby. But yeah, so he's had that for like 12 years. So I guess it's like reasonable that they would have broken by now. And it's actually kind of amazing they've lasted this long. But at the same time, I don't know. I guess we've gone on a lot of trips too, like more than the average person would. Scott Neverdusky says, "You mean she doesn't look you directly in the eyes as she knocks something off your desk?" No, she's not one of those cats, which is something I'm very gracious about. Although sometimes she'll sneak into my room and like start eating my plants, so I always have to stop her. She likes like crunchy things. Chris Robinson says, "You playing any video games recently?" Actually, recently I haven't. I recently beat the main story in Red Dead, but there's still some more stuff. But I actually haven't touched that recently. Recently I haven't, just because I'm trying to like read more, and video games are they can be such a drain on time. Because like if I start playing one, I can get really immersed in it. I did play the Division 2 demo like a couple weeks ago. That was pretty fun. Jay Wagnerich says, "Have you ever reserved a campsite or went on a trip where other people crashed it, like teenagers partying or locals just showing up to a camp at night?" I don't know. In the past, we've been those people showing up at someone's campsite, but like we weren't loud or anything. It was like early on when like basically we had a plan and it didn't come through, so we had to like camp somewhere. And people were usually really nice about it, but we were also like pretty unintrusive. I don't think we've ever had anything like that though. Actually, like maybe a long time ago. Wow, this might have been our first camping trip ever, actually. I don't know. It was one of the times we went to Hocking Hills, either in 2007, which would have been our first, or like 2012, which is when all four of us plus some other friends went. But there was one time where like there was another group of campers nearby, and this was just at like an actual campground. But they were just like super loud late into the night, which didn't bother me that much. But I think Robby was kind of upset at the time. But yeah, we've never had anything like too bad, have we? Yeah, I don't think so. I might be remembering wrong though. Aaron Jones says, "I was told about it from REI on Sawmill." Ah, that's cool. I've been to that one as well. I mean, I guess that makes sense. But Final Fantasy IX on Xbox One. Yeah, that just came out on the Switch too. I was considering like finding a way to play it. According to Robby, it's overpriced, but he also says it's a really good game. So, which I don't know. I feel like it's got that very adventure-y aesthetic, and I've never experienced that. Well, I've never experienced those games specifically when I was a kid, so it might be interesting to check out. Chris Robinson, I I made very sure to get max honor. I actually like got the honor meter all the way to the top, and I got a little PlayStation trophy for that. I don't know why. I just wanted to see what would happen, and the way I did that was basically just like wandering through Saint Denis and saying hi to every single person that I met. Because like if you say hi to enough people, your honor goes up. for a while I was like catching fish and then returning them because that also raised your honor, but that was too slow. Anyway, I've probably got to get off in the next 5 minutes, but maybe we can do a lightning round for questions or just talk about whatever else anyone is wondering about. I can also talk more about the trip, I guess. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to reveal too much about it, but I will say it was a pretty exhausting trip at times because there were just like really steep uphills, like steeper than a lot of trails usually are, and just like several miles. Yeah, road trip to the East Coast, hopefully. We still got to figure all the details out about that, and like figure out if we'll be exhausted or not. Will Nicole be doing some cooking? Probably, probably at some point. Hello, Sal. Welcome. Did you just get back from work? Sorry that the stream was earlier than usual because I was originally going to have it around 9, but then I remembered I was supposed to meet up with a friend about some. Actually, he's running like a D&D campaign, and I might join in. It's like a bi-weekly one, so it wouldn't take up too much time. But I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is making a big comeback. Mary Fisher says, thanks for chatting. Hope you come to Minnesota sometime in the near future. I'll have a cake waiting. Oh, that'd be amazing. You don't have to make a cake for us, but that would be really cool. Actually, we are hoping to get to Minnesota for Boundary Waters at some point. That's definitely a location that's been on our list for a long time. Sal says, just got done with work and walking the dog. Well, speaking of dogs, there's a little cat for you. Aaron Jones says, have you met Andy Nightcamp? I don't think so. Why does that name sound familiar, though? Kneecamp is probably how you say it. But Scott Neverduxley says, we're going to Shawnee on Saturday, just a single-day hike. Wife didn't want to camp in 18 degrees. Shawnee National Forest or Shawnee State Park or State Forest? Sal Delicio says, D&D is making a huge comeback. And very good kitty. Jay Wagenrich says, I'll be doing some first time ever solo trips this year. Do you ever run into solo women backpackers, or is that rare, unsafe? Yeah, I don't think I've ever run into solo women. It's usually, they're usually with people. Well, I'm trying to think. I feel like, yeah, usually they're in a group, but I think that's more just a general thing. I actually think it's probably not that unsafe in terms of like other people, depending on where you're going. Typically, people you're meeting on the trail are pretty cool. And yeah, if you got 2 dogs, that'll be good. A lot of people express concern when people hike alone just because of like wilderness like safety. But then again, there are also like plenty of people who really love solo hiking and like to recommend it to everybody. So I would just say like make sure you have stuff for an emergency. Stuff like bear spray, which can also be like self-defense, but also any sort of like emergency contact stuff would be good. And also just like let people know where you're going ahead of time too. That's always a good thing to do. So then people know where and when to expect you on what day. But honestly, yeah, I mean, like, it's easy to get really worried about the wilderness because obviously there are things that can happen out there. But like, they almost never do. Like the wilderness is much more safe than we let on. It's just that the things that can happen are very like scary things. And so they seem like a lot more impactful. But it's like, you're probably way safer hiking through the woods than you are like driving a car day to day, you know? Chris Robinson says, I can't think who the second guest is you've had on your episode. So the other one was Michael in our Japan episode. I think that's all there have been as far as special guests. Scott Never to See says Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings made fantasy cool. Won't say it again. Yeah, Lord of the Rings apparently was like a huge, huge inspiration to Dungeons and Dragons, which makes a lot of sense. But Shawnee National Forest. Ah, okay. Yeah, I want to get back there because there are some really cool looking spots there. Going to hit up Heron Pond, Fern Cliff, and Giant City. All right, have a good day, Scott Neverdusky. Thanks for joining us. Sal says, headed to Red River Gorge next week, very similar to what you guys did. Any tips, any must-see spots? Hanson's Point is definitely a really cool place. Let me see if I can get the trail map. It's funny because we might be going there soon too. But let me see. So here's the link to the map. I think Hanson's Point is like where 227 and 221 meet in the northern part. Don't quote me on that. But if you go back and watch our episode, it's at one of the intersections that we camped at. And you kind of have to like hike further into the campsite and like find your way through a bunch of bushes. But if you find some people there, you could probably ask them about it and they could probably point you the way. But yeah, I don't know, just anywhere in that main loop is super cool. I've also heard good things about like Cloud Splitter and stuff, but I actually haven't been there myself. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's just everywhere you go, you'll see a lot of cool like rock formation stuff. Aaron Jones says he's the first one to hike the entire Buckeye Trail, and he just got done backpacking. Oh, okay. Yeah, I must have heard that from the guy at the Pawpaw Festival, unless it happened after that. But I feel like I heard about that. I would love to do the Buckeye Trail sometime. Florida to Alabama, that's nuts. Well, I guess that's not that nuts for like long distance trail, but it's still impressive. Let's see later. Blah blah blah. Yeah, obviously up trail. Oh yeah, up trail. Yeah, I guess I was just more thinking about people who were with us the entirety of the trip. But yeah, up trail we met up with during the trip. Sad Delicio says, yeah, we were looking at the topo and we think we had an idea, but that is very helpful. Where was that second campsite you guys were at? That is a good question. I actually need to watch my own video to remember. But the second campsite is where like Hanson's Point will be. Aaron Jones says 1,100 miles. Wow. Okay, yeah, no, that is impressive. How's that? I need to like look at it on a map of the U.S. That's still, wow, that's 1,100. That's funny because I feel like the Appalachian Trail is like, I mean, I guess it's twice the amount of that at least, but it just seems like such a longer distance when you just think of it in your head. But that is really impressive. Okay, where was our second campsite? Let me look this up. I have to check like the map sequence. I need to remember to add the scene selections to our episodes also. I haven't been doing that recently. Oh no, why did it do that? Okay, so it was where 223, where it says like 223 and 100, it's where 223/100 meet up, like in that middle intersection there. Like the northern part of that really short connecting path. So that's where we camped the second time. Anyway, unfortunately, I've got to head off here, but thank you everybody for joining me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, sorry again that this was like an earlier kind of weird timing for the live stream. I think next Monday we should have one at the normal time, but then the Monday after that we'll probably have to have a live stream like on Wednesday again. because we're camping again. Did we end up taking the Coomer Ridge Trail? Yes, didn't we? 220. Yeah, so we went on part of that, not the entire part, but just like the part that connects 226 to. It connects the Buck Trail to the Rough Trail. So like on the eastern side, that's the section of the Coomer Ridge Trail that we hiked. So actually, Sal, if you go to 1 minute in on a Red River Gorge episode, which I will link in the live chat. If you go 1 minute in there, you can actually see the route we took on the little map sequence, and hopefully that'll help. Bye, Mary. Bye, Chris. Bye, everybody. Goodbye, Jason. Thank you for joining. Aaron Jones says, the link I just sent is about Andy completing Florida Trail. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I will check that out. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a good day. Good luck planning your trip to Red River Gorge. It is amazing. I forget if you've been there or not. I'm really bad at remembering stuff like that. I feel like you have, but if you haven't, it's amazing. So see you around. Let's get one last look at the cat. Bye, everybody.